Oh, bro, you heard that. It was just normal chatter in the background, and that means the Eagles are back on track. Do you expect the Eagles to show this against the Vikings?
Look, I'm not a body language expert, but I like his body language there. I like his demeanor. Like, it didn't seem – we've seen him before where it's tense. He's being critical of the offense, quarterback, whatever it is. So that was good. And if that's the case, then great. I mean, we are reacting to this report from Jeremy Fowler that they feel like they're on the verge of going into the supernatural funk again. So if they're not, then fine. My thing with them is just, and he said later, I watched the whole interview. He said later that we're not going to let this get us down. You know, we're going to so as long as they stay in a good place mentally, which has been a challenge for them, but if they do, their talent and ability will have them in the playoffs, should win the division. Like, they'll be there in the end with a shot to do something in the NFC. That's my biggest concern with them. So I do think they will bounce back against Minnesota. Minnesota, look, they're not as good as, you know, I mean, Flores has some quarterbacks have had their way with him a little bit. With
I
that
don't think the
defense.
Minnesota D-line's playing as well as they thought it would, as well as we saw early in the year.
Right, and obviously you've got it's going to be Carson Wentz again.
Yep.
Philadelphia cannot get Sirianni, never coached him, but he was there the year before Sirianni got there, and you cannot let Wentz cook you. You're coming off 2 straight losses. If indeed there is turmoil in the locker room, and this is the type of loss, 3rd straight, backup quarterback, former teammate, player on your team, that could lead them into a malaise, if you will. So, but I think they'll get it right. I think they'll win this game against Minnesota.
They are still S-Bob, correct?
Yeah, because they're coming.
Right.
Absolutely, they got
like,
the talent.
Definitionally, they're coming.
Absolutely,
super talented. The defending Super Bowl champs. If they are S-Bob, this is not a fun Tuesday segment must-win. This is a literal must-win. If the Minnesota Vikings beat the Philadelphia Eagles with their backup quarterback, with Philly having extra rest coming off a Thursday, uber motivated with 2 straight losses, then the Eagles are not a Super Bowl team. And the last 15 years, there have been teams that have lost 3 straight and made the Super Bowl. We can show you who those teams are. They all kind of have their own story. For the Niners, that was Brock Purdy, the bad stretch he had.
Yes,
Remember?
Baltimore,
I think Cleveland was one of the games. The 21 Rams first year with Stafford. And then 2 surprising, I think it's fair to call them Super Bowl teams. The 2012 Ravens with Flacco and the 2011 Giants and with Eli the second time around. So it's not that it's not possible to lose 3 straight and make the Super Bowl, but I feel like this team is already such an emotionally teetering team that losing to a team that you know you're better than, that is not even their best version of themselves, would put them down a path that is not going to end up with them back in the Super Bowl. I also believe, KW, their way to win this game is through the right arm of Jalen Hurts. I think if something is going to stop the emotional bleeding and the on-the-field bleeding for the Eagles, nothing will stop it quicker or better than a win that Jalen Hurts plays great in.
Well, Jalen Hurts has played pretty much great in every game this season, so just had a little bit of a rough go at it in a game against the New York Giants. Gasp. I know. He's the only quarterback in the history of the NFL to not be 100% perfect. No, the offense just needs to feel smooth. That's it. Nothing to do with Jalen Hurts' right arm. It just needs to feel smooth, and it needs to feel intentional. It needs to not feel desperate. It needs to not feel weak. It needs to feel like that they can move the ball and run the plays how they want to. They need to be able to actually run the ball. When they get the ball to A.J. Brown, it doesn't have to be for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. But it has to be like getting him the ball in space, getting him the ball in important moments. you know, a 20-yard pass on 2nd and 10 to move the chains and now get to the 40, you know, of the Vikings. Like it needs to feel real, not like, oh, it's 2nd and 10 and you throw a quick pass to AJ Brown for 3 yards and he gets tackled, right? Not one of those things where you're just kind of like, we can't move forward. Like what's happening? And then you hand the ball off to Saquon and he goes for a yard, you know, and now it's 3rd and 8 or whatever. And then it's just a drop back and like a 50-50 ball or something, you know, or whatever, or a throw to Dallas Goedert for 6 yards. And yeah, now it's 4th and 1, but you're like on your own 40. And you're like, is this the tush push now? And everything just needs to feel smoother. Nothing to do with, everything will quiet if Jalen Hurts throws for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 147 passer rating. That'll quiet everyone. Will it? Will it quiet everyone? Okay, sure. What's wrong with Saquon Barkley? I told you, Saquon Barkley's just not good enough. That defense just doesn't look the same. Yeah, they won that way, but is it sustainable? Jalen Hurts threw the ball 35 times, and hey, put the graphic up. We see that when Jalen Hurts throws the ball 35 times or more, the Eagles actually have, and it's just like, it'll never be good enough. It'll never be good enough. It won't quiet anything. Nothing to do with that. They didn't quiet anyone last year and they won the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl and they didn't quiet anyone. So, stop. Stop. The Eagles need to feel competent and intentional. Competent and intentional. Say it with me. Competent and intentional. When the games unfolded throughout the course of this season so far, some of the success, like even against the New York Giants, not the New York Giants, definitely not the New York Giants, against the Dallas Cowboys, that was Jalen Hurts playing his best brand of ball. And there were a lot of receivers not open. And he was taking the plays as the defense were giving them. Then he had to use his legs. Like he had to rely on Jalen Hurts heroics. I know it's impossible to ever think that Jalen Hurts could ever do anything heroic or put the team on his back, because it's never happened before. It only happens with Josh Allen, Mahomes, Lamar, Joe Burrow, but never Jalen Hurts. And that's what he did. And so that's successful, but that's not intentional. And that's actually competent from a Jalen Hurts perspective, but not a competent offense as a whole. And we saw that similarly against the Chiefs, against the Rams. They were competent and intentional in that second half, and in the first half against the Bucs. But in the other aspects, they were not competent and they were not successful intentionally, right? And so that's what they need to be able to do, is that when they say, hey, this is what we're looking to do, and then they do it, and then they succeed, right? Like that's what it comes down to. That's what I mean by competency more than anything. It's not proving that Jalen Hurts can throw here and do that. Like, you know, that's not. The O-line needs to be better. Will it be better? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. They do need to be able to establish the run game in a more consistent way. Stop having all of these negative or just 1-yard plays, because that is crushing. And the passing game, right, needs to continue to feel smoother and evolve. Everybody wants to harp on the Giants game as if that's been how this offense has been run, that Jalen Hurts has been so inaccurate and he's turning the ball over, and it's like, could not be further from the truth. And actually, if they continue to struggle with the run game because of the O-line is just fundamentally not opening up holes as it had in the past. And if they continue to have those problems, then yes, the game needs to run through Jalen Hurts' arm more. And also, Jalen Hurts also just needs to take off with his legs, be smart. But he has been scrambling and looking to throw. And you know what, man? Just scramble and run. Get the 10 yards, get the 7 yards, get the 5 yards, and keep on keeping on. 1st and 10, nowhere to go. You scramble, get 5 yards. 2nd and 5, boom, got it. And then you know what? Don't try to run. Don't set yourself up now for like 3rd and 5 again. Just like, no, you got two chances to throw the ball and get there. Let's do it. Like, have the smart play calling. So again, competency and intentionality. That's what they're looking for. We don't have to reduce it to Jalen Hurts' arm. It's absurd. It doesn't make any sense. What if the Philadelphia Eagles were able to run the ball all the live long day? What if Saquon Barkley was able to run a lot of these great RPOs where Jalen Hurts is keeping it too? He's ripping off some runs. Everyone's running. You got everyone doing it. Jalen Hurts throws for 190 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns. Saquon Barkley goes off for 160. Right? Like, it's just, that won't be good enough because because again, Devontae didn't have 110 yards. The receivers are upset. They won, and they got back to how they played in the Super Bowl. And so it did lead them to win a Super Bowl and have the most productive offense in NFL history in the playoffs. But is it sustainable? Will A.J. Brown be okay with it? Right? That's what I'm thinking. So it's nothing's ever okay. Nothing's ever enough. Nothing's ever enough. Now, the last point that I'll say here is expect the Eagles to get back on track. I got no expectations. That's the problem when you don't trust the coaching. Specifically, like Kevin Patullo in this position. He's done nothing to earn the trust from anyone. And when a team can get on track, it's specifically because of coaching. Specifically, when the Kansas City Chiefs lost the game to the Jacksonville Jaguars, they had all the penalties, etc., etc. The way how you trust them to get back on track, it's not Patrick Mahomes' right arm and his legs. It's Patrick Mahomes' right arm and his right knee and his left toe. That's how they get back on track. No, it's Andy Reid and Spags. It's Andy Reid and Spags. That's why they then had like no penalty. The penalties got absolutely slashed in the follow-up game. Right? Like it's okay. How do we incorporate Xavier Worthy more? How do we get, now that we know, Rashee Rice has come back, whatever it may be. Like it's coaching. It's coaching. That's how you steady the ship. That's how you get momentum moving forward. And again, Kevin Patullo hasn't earned that right. Same thing with the Detroit Lions right now. They had a tough loss, and now they're going up against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And yeah, if it was the same coordinators, it was Ben Johnson, etc. from years past, you would have more confidence, and the expectations would actually be rooted in more reality. Right now, since you don't actually have any evidence in one direction or the other, expectations are just, I can't emphasize this enough, it's completely made up. It's completely made up. If you don't actually have evidence for something and you're just expecting something, you're either just doubting for the sake of doubting or you're just hoping for the sake of hoping. You can have expectations on Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, right? Like then you're making like educated expectations. You can't necessarily have that here. I expect that if the defense is good enough, if they have enough people on defense, that Fangio will be able to continue to evolve this defense and get things playing at a higher level, make adjustments, etc., etc. But if the roster's not there, if the talent's not good enough, it's like, all right. But I expect and trust Fangio. Can't say that about a Kevin Patullo. Can't say that. And that's where Sirianni's role always gets a little blurred by being more of a walk-around coach in that regard. It's just a little bit harder to just really point to. It's not like Sirianni's now, in the lab with a pen and a pad, just pouring over everything and saying, this is what we need to do offensively. This is what we need to do offensively. This is what we need to do defensively. That's not his style. And that is a limitation of the Eagles. And it's always been. That's always a limitation of a Nick Sirianni, of a Dan Campbell, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a massive advantage of a Shanahan, Kevin O'Connell, McVay, Andy, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just a wait and see situation. I do believe that if they lose, that is absolutely devastating. And I told you guys this before. If they lose, I do think people will be fired. And, but I mean, it's not to say that the season would be over, but nobody's going to be feeling good. And then it really is easy for some of these players just to check out. And then I don't know what version of like a Jalen Hurts you get in those moments then. And if depending on some of the noise that AJ brings up or whatever it is, then you might see like a Jalen Hurts be like, all right, I'm just taking this in my own hands then. I'm just doing whatever I can, what I want to do. And sometimes that works really well, and sometimes it doesn't at all. Sometimes it doesn't at all. I've seen successes on both sides of it. But you consistently see the success when the coaching staff just puts their players in positions to succeed and not take matters in their own hands. So, yeah, this is definitely a philosophical issue that the Philadelphia Eagles have been facing, specifically offensively. As Jalen Hurts said it best, right? We had been playing not to lose, was I think his exact quote. You know, we can't just do that. And so if they can play to win and just do it consistently for both halves, then they can get back to being a top dominant team in the NFL. But I am firm on that is a huge, huge coaching aspect. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles? Do you expect the Eagles to get back on track against the Minnesota Vikings? I looked it up before. It seems like Carson Wentz is trending to start. I don't know if that's officially firm because he is full participant, and I think JJ McCarthy was still limited, so it probably seems a safer bet as Carson. But I don't think it's been officially 100% announced. Although I'm recording this video before, so by the time you're watching this video, it has been announced, and we will know the starting quarterback. So, but those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.